love you. Just to say I love you. I love you. I love you. Here we go, y'all. Your love is all I ever wanted. Your love is all I ever wanted. Your love is all I ever wanted. Just to say I love you.
Michael Ferrante, just to say I love you. It's KCHW 102.7. You got Scott and Mike, strangely, on a Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, yeah.
All right, got Mike out of bed. What'd you say? You have to get up. You've had to get up early 3 days in a row.
Well, I get up early, but I actually had to get dressed.
Oh, you had to get dressed 3 days in a row.
You know.
Don't overshare.
Yeah,
okay.
But you know what? I brought you the sunshine.
You brought me the sunshine?
My mom used to say when I'd come to Billings to visit her, Mike must be on the way because the sun's out.
Oh, well, there you go.
You know, hey.
And he's been working hard to bring sunshine to Chewelah in lots of different areas. You're busy. You got your fingers in lots of things, and you set up a great interview today. We'd like to welcome back to the KCHW studios our lovely mayor. I'm one of her biggest fans. It's Dorothy Knauss. Good morning, Dorothy.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, and from the Washington Department of Commerce, outreach specialist Julia Havens. Did I get that right?
You did. Good
All right,
job.
welcome to the KCHW studios, Julia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you've been all over the state. Were you surprised Chewelah had a little radio station?
I was. I'm excited.
All right.
I didn't know.
All right. All right, so we just want to get started, and you are a community outreach specialist with the Washington Department of Commerce. We've got this new program somehow Chewelah got involved in called New Approaches. Start off, though, tell us a little bit about you and then what you do.
Okay, great.
Right?
Thank you. So I have worked with Commerce for a little bit over a year and a half. I worked with the state for almost 15 years now, and this is the funnest job I've ever had or could imagine. So I get to work with communities and local jurisdictions, nonprofits and businesses, everybody, just anyone, connecting them to Commerce programs. And we have over 94 programs at Commerce right now, and 4 major divisions that kind of flow through. And so there's a lot of opportunities for communities to get funding for needs. And my job is to help them realize what's out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I have just like a personal question then. 94 different programs, are some of those geared toward the nonprofit sector?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I got some learning to do.
Yeah, there's lots of different eligible entities. Some, are cities and towns. Some are counties. Tribes, nonprofits, businesses. We have all kinds of eligible entities for different programs. Depends on the program.
All right. Mike, did you notice that there's one common thread between, our couple interviews we've done with WorkSource and now her, is state employees that love their jobs. That's refreshing to hear.
You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear. And situations where it's positive.
Yes.
Where the job you're doing is positive.
Yeah. Well,
and obviously you find it very fulfilling because you just lit up when you started talking about your job.
Well, and the other common thread is all these people are outreach type people. I mean, so they're in the communities, and I think that's what recharges you more than anything else. You're not sitting up behind a desk someplace looking at a computer screen.
Definitely. It's really invigorating to be able to empower communities and people to be able to get what they need. So I have to tell you, I met Dorothy about a year ago at a conference, maybe a little more than that. And she was the first person that I got to chat with, and she was so nice and so excited about her community. And I could, within 5 minutes, tell how much she loved Chewelah and her pride. And so I always thought from that minute, I was like, I would love to work more with her. And then here we are. And so it's just kind of really serendipitous and fun. And I'm excited for this project in Chewelah for sure.
Our little town's really been coming together, and it's funny how everything happens at once. We've had over the past year this Carpe, like you mentioned this morning, and then the Creative District, and now this. And for a town that 3-4 years ago was voted the poorest town in Washington State. We got a pretty little town, and the cleanup of our town has been amazing too.
Yes.
So.
Well, yeah, the transformation in my time, the transformation over the last couple of years has just been remarkable. And it's really a grassroots type of transformation. It's not somebody coming in with a lot of money and a big developer kind of doing something that's out of the character of the town. And that's one of the things that keeps me charged, basically, is trying to figure out how do do you do that controlled growth and maintain the culture and the character of the community?
Yeah.
And that's where when Dorothy invited me to the meeting, I don't know, 6-7 months ago with Julia, the initial one, that's kind of one of the reasons that I went anyway, was, okay, how can we plug into this? Because, you've got 2,700 people, of which probably 30% of them are in a position maybe to do something. And how do you access? How do you leverage who you are and get, state funding and get state direction? And, one of the questions I asked Julia way back was, I bet I could walk down the street and talk to 10 people and maybe one, if we're lucky, would even know what the Washington Department of Commerce does. And that's exactly why she said, I'm here.
All right. So tell us a little bit of the backstory about the New Approaches program, and then maybe you can work into how did Chewelah get here and get involved, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've been wanting to do this pilot for a long time. Our executive team came up with an idea in 2016, and finally, under the director, Lisa Brown, our new director, under her leadership, we've been able to implement this pilot this year. And so we are beyond thrilled that we can actually start implementing. We've done a lot of planning. The primary focus is to find communities that have not accessed commerce programming very much. And that could mean a lot of things. And we looked at a lot of communities. We looked at several high-need counties and then the cities and towns within. And we really determined that for us to build relationships and to learn about what small communities that haven't accessed commerce programming very much need to be able to address their own local needs. And so we'll talk a little bit more over the next few minutes about what that means. But really, we want to figure out what works best and learn and actually listen. And so we have a website. We have it's commerce.wa.gov, and you can find all of our information there. New Approaches is the name of the pilot. So if you search in our little search tab there, you can pull that up, or it's /New Approaches, and that has some base information on it as well. If anybody wanted to look it up.
Okay. Find out what our community is actually going to be a part of, right?
Right, yeah. It talks about the goals and all the stuff, the objectives and things.
And how many communities around the state are in this program so far, and what's your decision-making process to pick those communities?
Yeah, so there's 3 that have been selected. We have a small outreach team. So there's currently 3 of us. We're adding a central person in about 2 weeks to Central Washington. So there'll be 4 of us. And so for us to be able to kind of manage things and do a really good job with communication and keeping things going, we had 3 communities that we picked. So Chewelah and Hoquiam will be starting now, and Toppenish will be starting after the new year.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And they were selected for different reasons. We had a lot of things that we really did look at to see who would be the best fit. Interest being one of them, need for, services, right? And we looked at income levels, we looked at employment rates, we looked at housing needs, we looked at readiness and resiliency, if they have their plans and, order and things like that. And so we really did do our diligent job, making sure that we're in the right place, we hope. And we know that all communities are different. And so we wanted to get a cross-section of the state and learn as much as we can from small communities.
So were you kind of looking for communities that you saw that were already maybe had a little bit of infrastructure where they were working together kind of deal?
That definitely was important, to see the ability for us to be able to bring, the primary focus of the pilot is to bring in technical assistance locally, like to your door. And so the community gets to pick 2 priorities for which we will send you a technical assistance expert, essentially, and then work through a process to identify how that looks in the community of what's needed, and potentially raise awareness about what opportunities might be available, or what it takes to get to that point. So we'll come up with an action plan. So it's not a guaranteed funding project, but it is an ability to learn what is needed to be able to move forward on specific areas. And then we're really hoping that that'll snowball for the community. So we're hoping that the the project will keep growing in a sustainable way for the community.
I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think too. So if we have this meeting that's coming up that we'll talk about, and that we pick a couple projects and we've got this assistance. If we're out hitting up foundations and applying for grants and stuff like that, you would think that would be a huge benefit to say this city was picked by the Washington Department of Commerce. This is one of the projects they've chosen, and we're looking. I don't know. I think that would give us a little higher on the priority list of receiving a grant.
We would hope so.
We would hope so.
Well, and I think you've got this perfect kind of meeting coming together of the New Approaches Program, and then you've got the CARPE document that'll be completed here within about the next 30 days, which is basically a template to use for grant funding. And then the Creative District, which is a really defined entity that you can build within the community also. And so as those three things come together, the way they complement each other is just unreal to me. And you got a group of people that by and large work together. And to me, that was the value of what I've seen. I mean, when the first meeting I think we went to, there, I don't know, Dorothy, there was probably 6 or 8 people there.
Right.
And it was a good cross section of the community. And frankly, you got to give Dorothy a lot of credit because she's really good about cornering people. It's hard to say no. But she also has her thumb on the pulse of what the community is. And so she has a really good tendency to kind of pick the right people to be at the right meetings at the right time. And so that kind of moves the project ahead. And so I became aware of it and then excited of it because, selfishly, I wanted to see the Creative District come to fruit, and I want the CARPE document, which a lot of work went into, to not just sit on the shelf, to be utilized.
Use it, yeah. So
it'll be used, and then there's some other things that I don't want to talk about yet that I think are in the works coming up, and as far as being able to look at funding and things like that too. But it'll all come together, I believe. It just takes time, and unfortunately, my mentality is not time oriented. It's more of let's get it done. But you got people like Julia and Dorothy that are way more patient than me. Or at least they are on the surface they are. They're probably like a duck. They're sitting on a pond, but underneath those, they're just
Right.
And I always like to toot Dorothy's horn because, Dorothy, you have done so much, as the key for Chewelah to instigate things and make things happen over the past, has it been 6 years? I think you're 2 years since you went through a tough re-election and all that stuff, which was crazy for a small town and everything that gets thrown along with that. But you've endured it. It has to be tiring. And I don't care what you were doing in this town. Dorothy has the toughest job. And I've got a round of applause for Dorothy.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And one of my initial ideas when I became mayor was to create a network throughout the state with agencies, and just as Julia said, and thank you, Julia, I did not know that I impressed you that much at the time, but so that when we have a need or someone has a program like the New Approaches, they automatically think of Chewelah. Maybe this would work there, and that was one of my goals to start out with.
All right. Well, I think it's working.
Thank you.
All right. Do you want to? What would you like to move into next? Do you want to talk about this meeting we're going to have and what that's about? So you have Chewelah's got vision.
Yeah. So our goal is to really learn from the communities, right? And so that means engaging the people that live there. And so we are trying a different approach to the way that we normally work. And how we typically kind of operate is we'll set out a notice of application or a request for proposals, right? And a community is either really ready to go for that. They've either been aware of it before, maybe applied for it before, or they've, got even a consultant prepared to help them write the applications for whatever it is, a grant or a loan or whatever. Grants are a little bit more complicated, right? And so we really want to know, what about the small communities that haven't done that yet or that don't know about even what resources are available, like we talked about? And what does it take for the community to get support behind that? And what does it take for a community to learn about the importance of the project? And so those are all the kinds of questions that we're trying to answer with this pilot. And we want to hear from people. We want to hear, like, what matters to you in your community? What do you love about your community? And so those are going to be questions we're asking at this event that we're having on November 12th at the Civic Center from 3:30 to 7 at night, in the evening, in the afternoon. And we're hoping that people will use it as a drop-in style kind of open house, right? So you don't have to stay for very long. You can just come and chat with us for as long as you have in your schedule. Bring your kids. We want youth to come. But also, you know, you can stay and chat with your neighbors and your friends and just kind of hang out. So we're hoping that it'll be a really welcoming opportunity for people to come and share with us. It doesn't mean that all the ideas are going to get picked, right? But we really do want to make sure we have a good base of the ideas, and then we'll have another meeting later to talk about what we can do at Commerce. So the cool thing about our program in outreach is we have lots of connections with other state agencies. So if we can't do what if we can't fund a program or a project that's a need, we probably know of state agencies that can, and we can help make those connections. While that's not like the primary focus of what we're trying to do, we know that by building this list, we're going to be able to say, like, USDARD and, Washington Department of Transportation and all these other agencies have funding for whatever it is that maybe doesn't get picked. So it's kind of an open process right now, and we're really hoping that people will come and be as honest with us as possible. And we really want to dig deep. So I'm going to be asking, well, tell me more, and share about your experiences, because everyone has a different experience about where they live and work. And so it's not just people that live here. If you've worked in Chewelah for any length of time, 5 minutes, please come and tell us what you think, because new eyes are great, and so are people who've lived here for a long time. So we want everybody.
Well, what this has done since it hit the newspaper and Mike started talking about the radios, it's created water cooler talk around all over town, and people asking that question to their neighbor, to their friend at the water cooler. What would you do? What do you think Chewelah needs? And you start hearing talk about swimming pools and stuff that might not be, like a wellness center, which might not be totally realistic because of the expense. But it's gotten people already talking about it and thinking about it. Dorothy, what are some of the things maybe that and I'm not trying to pin you down saying this is what Dorothy thinks we should do, but just things you've heard people say that you went, oh.
Well, this is so exciting to me because over the 6 years, I've often heard people say, Chewelah needs fill in the blanks, or I wish we had fill in the blank. Yeah. So this is the opportunity for people to come, and we don't have any preconceived ideas about what ideas should come up. So we're open to any idea that comes up, and then the community as a whole will narrow that down to the 2 priorities. And Julia's done a wonderful job of reaching out. She's reached out to the faith community. I reached out to the high school, to Mr. Anagon's civics class, and he said he thought this would be a good idea for some of his students to be involved in this.
Oh, that is good.
So because we want the youth
to know.
We need the youth involved, of course.
And what do I always say, Mike, when we talk about things we should do now?
Not enough things to do for the kids.
That's right. Something for the kids. I don't care what it is. Let's do something for the kids.
One of the things I've learned about Chewelah, and I love about Chewelah, is that we like being together. We like being out in the community together. And
Look at that first light up the park.
Yes.
That was crazy.
That was super.
Yeah.
Well, and First Thursday Art Walk, Taste of Chewelah, people just love to be out together. And so I think that people will enjoy being out together at the Civic Center, just coming up with ideas.
How fun.
And I've sent a communication out to the people that live on the golf course encouraging them to come. Sure. And I got a couple of responses back, and one of them was, well, why should I? Yeah. And my answer was pretty simple. If you want a voice, show up. Right. I mean, that's really what it is. Sure. And Julia's made it, as, in my opinion, as accommodating as you could make it. It's being an open house format. You don't have to sit through some kind of presentation. You don't, and you're feeding people on top of it. Yeah. I saw that. I didn't realize that.
What? Food?
Oh. Okay, Scott will be there with a brown bag.
On the budget. Don't get too excited, but it's
prime rib? What? I pinned her down. All right. So Dorothy, what was when you found out about this? What was the thing that really turned you on to it?
Well, it was exciting to me because I didn't know all of the programs that Commerce has. And here's another opportunity to put the spotlight on Chewelah. to accomplish some things that we have not been able to do, because we're pretty limited in our budgeting. So it was just exciting to me to have another opportunity to expand our horizon. And see what can be done with, our community is so great about working together. I've told this story 100 times, but I worked for the city for 20 years, and I was on the council for a year before I became mayor. I have never in all those years seen the community so unified and ready to work together on a project, on a worthy project. And so that's what's exciting to me, is just to get all the different voices in, hear everything people have to say, and then come to some conclusion.
All right. It's a great opportunity.
It is.
Yeah, it
is.
really is. And I just really appreciate you and the local key leaders that we've already started talking with. We have this kind of like base list of things, right? Like, so we're gonna have that there, and then we'll say, like, what do you think? Tell us more about these things and what is missing. And that's going to be kind of like a starting point, like a good place to start a conversation. And so I think that that's going to be really fun, and I can't wait. Like, I'm so jazzed up about next Tuesday for sure. So I hope as many people come as we can get, and just really like feel like you can have a voice. And it's not a pressure, right? Like,
no pressure.
Something isn't broken, nothing needs to be fixed and done better. It's really like, what can we do that'll show what happens in small communities that have limited staff, that have limited budgets, that maybe like are so focused on other things that this hasn't, been explored yet. And what does it take? And then we can take that information, me and my team, back to the state headquarters office and say, like, here's what we can do for small communities. So you're not only going to be exploring things for Chewelah and advancing some projects that mean a lot to folks here, but like, it's going to give lots of information to us to be able to make things great for other small communities. And while we don't make assumptions about all communities, because everybody's different, it'll help. And I really am excited and thankful for all the time. I'm bugging Dorothy 24/7 about things, so I really do appreciate everyone's interest and involvement.
Yeah, see, and I look at it as leveraging the name of the community throughout the state and beyond.
Yes.
And, instead of when you go to a meeting, like I was in the Top Initiative meeting here a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't, I would bet that if I'd gone that a year ago, it would have been a what's Chewelah, And now the general theme is moving towards where's it at and how soon can I get there?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really very powerful for a whole lot of different reasons. I mean, controlled growth, to getting people aware, to supporting the local business community, to supporting the local arts, to, developing, stronger infrastructure, to you name it. I mean, and I'm fortunate enough because of the people that move into the golf course, you get the opportunity to visit the people. Why are you moving here? And some of them, like right now, I've been working with a gal. They're moving up here from middle of Oregon, Sun River, which is a pretty nice place in Oregon. And I said, so why are you guys, they're retired and they used to own a business. Why are you guys moving to Chewelah? Because we're tired of the overblown aspect of where we live. When we moved there 20 years ago, it was a nice, quiet little community, and we want to move back to that type of a culture. So that's what I think we need to get out there.
One of the things that I have said in every meeting, in the Carpe meeting, in the Creative District meeting, every meeting that I go to, and it will be the same with this, whatever we do as a community, we do not want to lose the character of who we are.
Right.
There you go.
And that theme comes through a lot.
Yes.
I mean, if you were to walk down the street in Chewelah and talk to 10 people, I think 10 out of 10 would say, don't lose this. I mean, the character, the culture, the camaraderie.
Yes.
The sense of community.
Well, I know Dorothy is a mayor that goes to classes and goes to things and tries to educate herself and stay on top of just kind of the learning of being a mayor and having the knowledge she needs to do her job. And I think it's great that the state has this program, because you've got a lot of smaller communities where your city council, your mayor or whatever, they might not have the experience experience or tools at their disposal or work experience to actually run a city government. But we come together with the good of the city, and people become council members, and we try to do it. Now, I see our council and Dorothy, you know, she's gone to this class, and she goes to this class, and she's always trying to find ways. But I bet you there's a lot of smaller communities that aren't proactive. We didn't know about this Department of Commerce programs. There's got to be so many more. So teaching us shows others, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
I still get to do a really big part of my job. I serve currently all of Eastern Washington until our fourth person comes on. And so, you know, I'm still out there and I'm still meeting with folks. And so, you know, even when we did our first meeting, you know, a couple of people came up to me and were like, well, I need help with this. And that's great, you know. So this is a really big focus and a really big part of my job right now. And I'm still able to do my other meetings and connections as well too. So yeah, it's really fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Have I missed any question that you really wanted me to ask you?
I don't think so.
We've pretty much covered it.
Okay.
We just are really
Yeah.
excited about this event, and you know,
roll it out one
Yeah.
more time.
Okay.
Date and time.
Okay, so November 12th, next Tuesday, from 3:30 to 7 p.m. Open house style. Come for as long as you can. The Facebook page for the chamber has an invite on it. If you want to share that out, that would be amazing.
Okay.
You've probably seen the flyers around town. They kind of have a October feel. They have a big orange box on them. There's going to be food and beverages and
it's at the
hopefully
Civic
lots of
Center.
people at the Civic Center
And the Civic Center.
on
All
Clay
right.
Street.
All right.
Right.
Anything else?
Well, my final comment is just that anytime you can get a state agency jazzed about helping us, I'm all in.
It's a
I'm
good
in.
thing. It's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you, girls, so much for coming in this morning. Or should I say
you.
ladies?
Ladies,
All right.
yeah.
Yes, ladies.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Dorothy Knauss and Julia Havens, outreach specialist from the Department of Commerce. Thank you so much for being here in Chewelah and helping us, Julia.
Thank
Big
you.
round of applause for both of you.
Thank you.
See you on Tuesday.
All right. See you on Tuesday. Looks like we're going to take a musical interlude, and we actually have time today to have some fun and do stupid news. All right. All right. Stick around.
Oh, I could hardly wait.
I can hardly wait either. We're going to rock you up a little bit. It's a little U2 in the volcano. KCHW 102.7. Scott and Mike right back.